I don't want to dwell too much on the physical things, the ailments, things that are happening, because it sounds like an excuse, and I'm not going to make that. I need to be better. I need to fight through and figure out how to make better decisions, how to make better throws, how to, be a better football player. And that's why I just said I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm not giving up on this season. No one in this building is. It's still early, and there's still a lot of fight left in us.
Look, that's Ben Roethlisberger from Wednesday, and I would not expect him to say anything other than what he said. I don't expect him to stand up there and say, you know what, I've been watching the film, and I've come to a conclusion. I'm 39, and it's starting to show.
Right.
And that son of a you-know-what Tom Brady playing into his 40s has the rest of us thinking that we can do it too. And I've come to the very difficult conclusion that I can't. Goodbye. I'm out of here. He's not going to do that. But that's what he should do. He should admit it. Chris, you're right on the money. Every time I see the highlights of Ben Roethlisberger now, it is agonizing. It is excruciating because we remember how he used to be. And we see the same guy, the same look, the same build, the same everything, the same uniform. Usually it's in a different uniform. When you say, man, that guy's really fallen off, it's hard to process it, but he's really fallen off. And I don't care how much work he's putting into it now. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak, because the flesh is old and broken and battered, and it's not getting any better the more games they play this year.
No, it's not. It's not going to get better. I think the only hope is kind of what we've discussed a little bit, is just the fact that he can be real with himself and realize where he is at this point of his career. But
he isn't.
I know. It's shocking. I understand. You're right. He isn't. To this point, he's not. It's a handful of plays every week where you just go, "What? You're not in reality. You can't do that anymore. What are you doing? You can't hold the ball up in the air and dance around the pocket anymore. That's over." And, those mistakes have cost them in just about every game so far. And again, I do think they're a team that if they just play the right way on the offense, they could win some of these games and win them ugly. Their defense is still damn good. I don't care what the stats say. The reason the stats aren't great for the Pittsburgh defense is because the offense is off the field every 3 plays. So it's just hard. Eventually, the dam is going to break. But, these plays right here, and again, a majority of them, I want to go, people are open. I don't know what he's looking at. I don't know what he's reading. The protection's not that bad. And that's where I'm really confused by it. There's just a lack of mental awareness of what's going on downfield and what's going on around him right now that I think shocks me more than anything.
That one play that we show against the Packers where he does the pump with confidence and then all of a sudden is devoured, I wonder what his brain is processing in that moment, because he does that pump like, I've done this 1,000 times. Here we go. I'm going to do that pump, and now I'm going to let it go. And he barely finishes the pump, and he's just dragged down. And there's just something about, when you look at those one after another, there's something about the way he moves.
Exactly.
For someone who has watched football for 50 years, you look at it and you say, let's watch these. Look, there's that pump, and it's like he just gets dragged down. There's no fight in that. There's no ability in that to even prevent it from happening. I think that's what is striking to me. I'm trying to articulate this.
Yeah, I know. It's hard.
He does not have the ability to fight these things off like he always did. Watch this. Like, there's nothing there. Once they get their hands on him, it's just a matter of dragging down a sack of flour. And that is not what he was for 17 seasons, and I think that's what's so glaring.
No, I think so. I think it is, and I think it's part of the reason why, he is more beat up than a Tom Brady is at 44 years old. Yes, he played a brand of football that was certainly more physical, and, as you've stated many times, and to me this will always be one of the under-the-radar great things about Big Ben, they were going to Super Bowls and deep into the AFC playoffs with, the worst offensive line in football. So, of course, he's beat up. He didn't have the protection some of the, Brady had throughout his career. He did not. And, he's paying the piper now because of that. But, yeah, I think between what you're explaining, Mike, and then just the number of plays where I go, I know this play. I've been taught this play. Teams run this play every week. And I look at the coverage and I go, I know what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to read. And you go, I don't know what he's looking at. I don't know what he's doing. And I think that's more shocking to me than anything. It's just I go, I don't, what was his thought process here? He should be looking over here and he's looking over here. Or he's looked at one guy and then he just doesn't get off him. And you go, wait, 2 and 3 are open. Get off him. Then he dances around the pocket and there's a check down or a short throw open. And he doesn't get the ball out of his hands because I think he's being greedy and wants more. And that's where I go back to the unrealistic part of his game right now, and it's a little weird, certainly.
There's a very basic truth about sports, and this starts at a young age. Kids who gravitate towards certain sports, they love that sport. Why do they love that sport? Because they're good at it. It's easy to love something that you're good at. It's a lot harder to love something that you're not good at. And Ben Roethlisberger surely has loved football all of his life. I can't see how he loves the experience right now. What is it that is driving him every Sunday when he knows that at the end of the day, there's going to be highlights or lowlights like that? He's going to go through those moments where his brain is thinking, this isn't the way it used to be, or oh, bleep, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, which is probably what is actually going through his brain. He gets the ball, and it's like, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, and then it's the sack of flour that gets dragged to the ground. Look, the guy's one of the all-time greats. He's a Hall of Famer. But this is a warning to all these other guys who are creeping deeper into their 30s, who have this vision of Tom Brady at 44. It's not necessarily transferable to you. Now, it could be Brady's at one extreme and Roethlisberger's at the other, and guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, and you got guys who are way younger than 45 saying, I want to play until I'm 45. Where are you going to land on that spectrum?
Yeah, right.
But I think we're seeing a pretty clear other end of the aging quarterback range here. We've got Brady still kicking ass at 44, and we got Roethlisberger getting his ass kicked regularly at 39. And it's a cautionary tale for any of these guys who think that just because I can do it at 32, I can do it at 33, I can do it at 34, I can do it at 39, I can do it at 42. There's a point where you're not going to be able to do it. Yeah. Father Time is undefeated. Now, Tom Brady continues to stave him off.
Yeah, he does.
But Ben, and I still stand by my prediction that it's going to be injured reserve and never to be heard from again. And maybe that's the right thing to do. And because I think that at a certain point it diminishes your legacy if you keep playing in these games, and it's a clear reminder that you're not what you used to be.
Yeah, I hear you. I do think if it continues to stay ugly the way it is, that I'm with you. You definitely were the first person I heard say it, and I think you're right. That yes, like the clock. I got to think the clock's ticking there in Pittsburgh a little bit. That it's now officially started. Like where we're going. Wait, we got to start evaluating it for what it is. Are we being fair to our football team? Is this even right by what we're doing right now? Because, like I said, I mean, you can the biggest mistakes in all three losses are Big Ben Roethlisberger. They're all Ben Roethlisberger related. And you could make the argument that if you eliminate some of his mistakes there, that they could have won all three of these games. There's certainly been a position late in the game to win the game, which they were not because of some of the mistakes he made. So be interested to see where it goes, definitely. I mean, the last thing I'll say, Mike, is just it is about what you put in the bank. It's what you put in the bank. The first thing, are you doing – keeping yourself healthy, eating right, training right in the off season, right? That all is going to add up once you get to 40 years old. And then I also think, of course, the team and how the style of football you played your career. And, we talked about Brady didn't have to play close to the edge. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have had to play a little closer to the edge for their teams to win. And that's where, players like that are a little bit more at a disadvantage, I think, for the long term as far as playing into their 40s.
It's just unfortunate that the Steelers have to go through this and that Roethlisberger has to go through this because it was all avoidable. But I will say this. Every time in my experience, and I've been in and around Pittsburgh almost all of my life, anytime the Steelers get written off, that is when they become dangerous. A couple of years ago, when Roethlisberger suffered the elbow injury week 2 against the Seahawks, who are actually coming back to town in a few weeks for a Sunday night game. So there may be shades of that for Big Ben. But we wrote him off after that, and they were competitive. And that's a testament to Mike Tomlin's ability to get the most out of whatever he has. The problem this year is they just may not be able to do it. But I think they thrive on being doubted. Hey, I thought for a while on Sunday they were going to beat the Packers. Why? Because they were being doubted. Oh, the Packers are going to win this one easily. And it was 7-0 early on, and they had that blocked field goal return for a touchdown with another bad call where no one was offside. Joe Hayden wasn't offside, but it looked like he was offside. Right. Yeah, and it timed it too perfect, right. So you're offside, even though you're not. That could have changed everything in that game. So, hey, to the extent that we're tipping our picks for the Mega Picks podcast, I think they're going to beat the Broncos this weekend. I think it sets up for the Steelers to find a way to do it. They're 0-2 at home. This is a franchise that does not go 0-3 at home. And if they do lose to the Broncos on Sunday, then, Mike Tomlin said it's not time to press the panic button last week. It's time to mash on it with both hands and both feet if they lose to the Broncos at home this weekend, Chris.
Yeah, I hear you there. And, Mike, the one thing I want to just echo what a great point I think you made. Like 2 years ago, like how they played there. They won games the way you're talking about, where it was just like, hey, offense, don't screw it up. Just keep us close. And the defense and the special teams, and we'll make some plays in offense. If you could just manage the game and, Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, if you could just make 1 or 2 plays, we'll have a chance to win it. And I don't look at them any differently that way. And I think that's what you're explaining and what we're trying to say about Pittsburgh right now.
But Ben won't change.
No, he won't.
He won't become a game manager.
Yeah.
That's basically what he has to do.
Yeah.
That's what Ron Rivera said last week about Taylor Heineke. Need him to be more of a game manager, not a gunslinger.
Yes.
Ben Roethlisberger is a guy who is an aging gunslinger who, if he wants to continue to play, needs to accept that he has to be a game manager, and I don't think he's willing or able to process that, to do that, and that's the problem right now. And you were on that a few weeks ago, that he's got to completely change the way he plays for the Steelers to be as successful as they can be, because it's not the Big Ben of old that's going to win games.
No.
It is a guy who hands off, a guy who throws the ball quickly, a guy who doesn't try to extend plays because he can't. And again, week in, week out, with another game in practice, you're caught up in the middle of it. I think it's going to be too hard for him to step away from it and have that critical self-evaluation and say, you know what, if I want to keep playing this game, I have to accept the fact that I have to play it in a very different way than I ever have.
Yeah, I agreed. And I hope he can do it. I can. I'd like to see him go out on some sort of a positive note. I do. I think he's underrated greatness throughout his career, and yeah, it's a strugglesville right now, and I hope he can kind of right the ship and be realistic with himself, and maybe they can win a few football games. And like you've always said, football is more fun when Pittsburgh's involved. They are. I like watching Pittsburgh. I like Mike Tomlin. I like the old school approach that they have. It's just rock 'em, sock 'em, knock your head off type football. Hopefully he can buy into the way he has to play.
And by the way, to the extent that we're peeking ahead at the schedule, that Sunday night game against the Seahawks is next week. I thought it was a few weeks down the line. It's next week. So, and then after that, they have their bye. They have an early bye, week 7. If they lose to the Broncos on Sunday, and I don't think they will, and then the Seahawks come to town and it goes poorly for Big Ben before a nationally televised audience. And then there's the bye after that.
Yeah, that could be the time.
That could be when he goes on injured reserve.
Yeah, right.
Because then after that, the Browns is the Browns. And that's not going to go well either for the Steelers this year.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.